Welcome. My name is Neil Thrussell. I am with Best You Can Be and the Shindao, and I'm really excited to have this incredible panel of experts in their field, wonderful, warm, loving, compassionate human beings. We're from the wilds of Langley, BC, to all the way to somewhere in the middle of the UK. I forget where Sarah's from, and I should know because I've known Sarah long enough. To the current city, my hometown. Well, I shouldn't say hometown. I think I was born in Regina, but from currently residing in Calgary, we've got Susan and the wonderful Angel Rogers. Welcome, everybody. So let's do a little bit of popcorn here. Just randomly, somebody go. Quick introduction.
So I'll start, as you don't know where I'm from, apparently. The accent will give it away. I am across the pond, Sarah Ross, based in Oxford in England. I'm a burnout recovery speaker, mentor, coach, helping people find their reason to breathe in life and living a fulfilled life by removing burnout and stress.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm Susan, and apparently today I'm in all caps, so whereas the backwards here, all caps. I don't know why, but I'm a life coach, a spiritual life coach in Calgary, Alberta, and I'm delighted to be here. So thanks so much for inviting me to the conversation.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, Angel, come on. You go, girl. You make this happen. Bring yourself to the world.
My name is Angel Rogers, and I owned one of the largest licensed psychic schools in the country, and I'm a meditation coach. And I did a lot of work as a master chakra healer, past life regressionist, a hypnotherapist, color therapist, sound therapy, all these things, trying to find ways that would wake people up, including myself. And then I met a Zen master. And I was personally trained by Zen Master Nisa Maman, and he appointed me as his dojo sensei for North America. And what Zen is the fastest, quickest, easiest way to be happy. And so many people don't know what I do as a trilotherapist. It's a Zen counselor, so it's to awaken the soul and to find happiness.
Sweet. I love her master teacher, Nissa. I had the privilege of spending some time with him. Not as much as Angel, but he's a beautiful soul. I love the man.
He's a very genuine, kind man.
Yeah. Apparently that leaves somebody off who's on my right-hand side in my screen. That would leave you, Jamie.
That would leave myself. My name is Jamie Adamchuk. I'm with UE Coaching, where I help stressed out business operators relieve that unnecessary stress, scale their businesses, and truly become real, proper, fully embodied business owners, stepping it up to the next level. It's an absolute privilege to be here with everyone today. I mean, just seeing everyone's smiling faces on the screen, I already know, maybe that's that little bit of psychic in me, but I already know today we are going to have one amazing, incredible, outstanding show.
Knowing Jamie, it's more psycho. No, sorry.
I'll go with that.
So I don't normally have a theme, but Jamie and I picked up on a couple things, Jamie this morning, but yesterday I was standing in line at a Tim Hortons, and this young man was like 45 cents short for his donut, and he was maybe 11. And I just paid for it. And you would have thought he had won the lottery. and it was like 45 freaking cents. And it was a random act of kindness. So has anybody received a random act of kindness? And has anyone actually participated in delivering a random act of kindness? Mine was so simple, 45 cents yesterday. Anyone?
I had a lot of experience being able to do that in the store because we had so many people coming in. And actually, to be honest, it's one of the things that I miss the most is being able to just give things to people and watch them smile, because we would get to say with crystals, for instance, I'm a crystal nut, and being able to get a crystal, of course you get it at wholesale, or when I go someplace, maybe a crystal costs me $3, but to give it to somebody with it retails for $50, but you're giving it to them out of the blue. Sometimes I've even put it in somebody's pocket and told their wife or partner to, I know they wouldn't take it while they were here because they have a problem with receiving. So please at home, let them know you didn't steal it. And, just being able to do that. And it's really not about the 45 cents or dollar amount. It's about you saw me and you care. And it gives us a feeling of connection. And when we feel connected, we don't feel alone. And we feel that our human brain is wired for community, especially females. And so when females are wired and all of us feel wired together, there's that strength and we feel that we're not alone. And so 45 cents or a smile, if you look at a homeless person or somebody who people are ignoring, and you look at them in the eye and smile and acknowledge them, that is something that is priceless.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I've definitely been on the giving end. One of my favorite things to do in that regard is to go to the front of the coffee line and give an extra $20 and say, pay for the next 3 people or whoever comes in. Which is always really fun to do. And then just, random things. Yesterday I was in the mall and seeing lots of people who looked very stressed and very fearful. And I just, really made a point of looking at each one and smiling and just bringing as much love, energy as possible to try and just change that space and touch their heart. So I think that qualifies too.
Absolutely.
I think that's brilliant. And Neil, that must have been at Tim Hortons, right? There's a phenomenon at Tim Hortons. Does anyone know about the Tim Hortons phenomenon? Does anyone know about this?
No.
Okay, I'm going to say no.
Okay, so typically, and this has happened to me, I can't even tell you how many times, and I've participated in it too. It's something that typically happens in the drive-through. So we get driving through, and oftentimes you'll find that the person in front has paid for your coffee. This is not a one. Right? Angel, you know what I'm talking about?
It was at Starbucks, though. It wasn't at Timmy's, but
Starbucks.
That drive-through person behind me, absolutely.
This is a beautiful phenomenon. I mean, think about this. You're in that line, you're getting ready to pay. It's like, oh no, don't worry about it. Your order's taken care of. The person in front already paid for it. This is something that happens actually quite frequently. Now, I haven't been out a lot, of course, with the current state of the world and all that, but I imagine that's still going strong out there. To be a part of that, I went out for breakfast. This is a few months back, of course, and it was a very inexpensive breakfast. It was one of these little hole in the wall, these real dive little places and stuff. They had this real economical breakfast, but people raved about it, saying it's just absolutely amazing. And it rocked. It was like really cheap. It was really super cheap. So I gave them, that's exactly what I did, an extra $20. I'm like, $30, go buy some people some meals. Because you could see within there were some people that, maybe didn't have a ton of money. If I could make that difference, if I could make that impact for those people, because it made me feel so good. It was something that I could do. And hey, maybe there's a little bit of selfishness in it. I don't think it was coming from a place of selfishness, but I got to be the recipient of that. Even if no one had a clue who the one was that was paying for it, it's like, oh my God, I did that. I made someone's day. Like, that's amazing.
And everybody, all eyes are on Sarah.
Sarah's working. If I could say something while we're waiting for Sarah, with what Susan had said as well, we don't want people to think that it's all about money. Like when you said, Susan, that smile, When we smile, it's a muscle memory. And I challenge people all the time to, when you're walking down the street, look at a person's face, smile and say good morning. Their whole face changes. They look up, they smile. When you smile, the muscle memory releases dopamine. So it is a free, easy, simple way for you to give stuff, because a lot of people may be in a position where they don't have an extra $20 or even an extra $1 right now, but this is always free, and that connection is always free, and it actually does do a chemical balance in rebalancing in the mind to release dopamine. Even when you kiss somebody, a quick kiss on the lips, the pressure on the lips and the nervous system releases that dopamine as well. I'm not saying going around kissing strangers. The smile will suffice with strangers.
Well, a month ago, or maybe even more, we had a panel, and we had everybody at the very end going, "I love you, man." So I don't know how we're going to do this. So Sarah was just breaking up and having a hard time. So Sarah is getting off. Sarah will rejoin us. It is, it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. Where was I? I had a thought, and then it was derailed. Oh, I know.
Oh, okay.
I was listening to a Tony Robbins tape a tape, and it was actually a tape because I had found it. It was a cassette tape, and on it he was talking about the hormones and the chemistry that's our body goes through the act of giving. So we actually receive a hit of cortisol, and that when we give, because it makes us feel good. So purely selfish, it helps us when we give.
Yes, it's actually, so cortisol is the stress hormone. So we don't want to get a hit of cortisol. It lowers the cortisol in that spike. So the cortisol is a stress hormone. And women, if you have belly fat, if you carry your weight here like I do, that is cortisol, and that is stress on the back of the adrenal glands. And really drink a lot of water and take care of your kidneys, because that flushes that hormone out.
Excellent. Welcome back, Sarah.
Oh, that sounds better. It started with Neil breaking up, and I was like, oh, well, I'll manage. And then every single one of you, and it's like, well, the only common denominator here is me. So I shall leave and come back. Oh.
Wonderful. So we're talking about random act of kindness, and we were waiting to see what your words of wisdom were on random acts of kindness before we moved on.
Well, so as you know, here in the UK, we are still technically on lockdown, and we are coming out every couple of weeks we're allowed to be a little bit closer. About 3 weeks ago, I was allowed to have a hug from my family. So I have bubble with a household, so we are now combined. And that first hug, absolutely amazing. Can't beat it. But my parents aren't allowed to have that yet. They still have to stay a meter away from all of us in the bubble. And I had literally just put my coffee down, and my doorbell rang, and there are my parents, who, because our campsites are open, are actually camping about 30 minutes away, and they had cycled over. And I was like, you couldn't have had worse timing. I need to go and put my face on. And then I'm recording this show. It's like, and my initial reaction was, you just cannot be here. This is so inconvenient. It's like, you know what? But the garden's open. Like, I'll open the gate, come into the garden. So we got the furniture out. And I can just tell my mum, she hasn't done that sort of cycle ride in a while, obviously, because of lockdown. And I was like, Mum, do you need a drink? And she was like, yeah. And just to be able to offer them, a cold drink, we sat in the garden for 10 minutes. And they were like, oh, we'll get out of your hair because you need to go. It was like, just sit here until you're done. You can leave the glasses on the doorstep, because they're not allowed to come into the house. But it was just that, what can you do? The limitations don't mean we have to stop everything. We can still be kind. We can still be helpful, and we can. I caught the last bit of that, that power of the smile
is immense. And, you know, even when I walk up to the village, which I don't do a lot, but, you know, you smile at people and that might be the only person they see that day because it's their one walk, their time out, you know, and you've already crossed over to other sides of the road, which still feels like, you know, like you smell or something when somebody does it. You can see them do it. They're on the same sidewalk and then whoop, they cross the road. But you just get that feeling of, yeah, that smile, and they do smile back. So it's, you know, you're kind of exchanging that energy. And for a lot of us that live alone, we haven't had any energy exchange lockdown. And that's the, you know, that's the gift now, is to say, here, have some of mine. I'm in a good place.
Sweet. I personally hadn't been able, we hadn't been able to see my, we've chose to keep my father safe because of he's high risk. And it was him that basically said, this isn't worth it to me. I need you guys to come because I need the connection, because I don't know what I'm going to die of, but this is not what I signed up for. And so, yes, you can come. And so within days of him saying that, like, we were there.
Love.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think for me, I had a phenomenal act of kindness recently. Before all this came down, I was walking across the street at night, and I still don't know exactly what happened, but I woke up and I was in the middle of the road. It was super dark. I was in a dark coat, and my wrist was, let's just say, not at the same angle as when I started walking across the street.
Oh no.
And I sort of looked up and I saw the light turn green and there was a car heading towards me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, is this the end? And just at that moment, there was a guy on the sidewalk and he said, do you need help? And I'm like, yeah. So he jumped off the sidewalk and stopped the car. And then he tried to pick me up, and I couldn't stand because I had also hurt my leg as well. And so then another guy said, hang on, I'm going to come help. And so the two of them lifted me up off the road and put me onto the sidewalk, where these beautiful angels showed up out of nowhere, I don't know where, and called the ambulance and helped me out. And the thing I noticed in that moment, I was, just barely hanging on to consciousness at that point. But what really struck me, what really stayed with me, was that the woman who was behind me, who I couldn't see, was rubbing my back, which was lovely. But more than that, I could feel her love, even though she was a complete stranger, never met her, didn't know her. I was all alone. And just that presence just made such an impact on me, to know that our presence does make a difference, right? Even though we may think it's not a big deal, and how we move through the world, but it really does make a huge difference. And that was just such a great learning experience for me, and such a phenomenal random act of kindness. I mean, literally, for me to be sitting here, I think.
Well, we're glad you're okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was January 26th is when that happened.
Yep. So thank you. And it's the world, would random acts of kindness for me, the lesson is, it reminds me that the world, despite what the newspapers say, despite what other media say, the world is filled with basically good human beings.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely. I had so a couple of weeks ago, I was actually on an EBC call, and it's 11 o'clock at night, my time. And the only light on my house that's on is the office where I'm on the call. And about 10-15 minutes in, the doorbell rings. It's like, well, this is crazy, because we're still in lockdown. And I go down the stairs, and this lady's knocked on my door because an old man has fallen over at the end of my path. Now, he was in his pajamas at 11 o'clock at night, And they had both tried to pick him up. Now they were Chinese couple, and the gentleman was 6'5". The physics of that were not going to end well.
Yeah.
So they asked if I could help, and I tried to get him up. But as I got him up and realized just how tall he was, now I'm 5'10", so, you know, it still felt like a giant. I could tell that he was obviously in the first stages of a stroke.
Oh,
and
no.
Instead of, you know, he only lives 3 doors away from me, and it's like, I cannot safely get him home. So we called an ambulance, but it was in that 5-10 minutes until the ambulance arrived, the friendship between the 4 of us, you know, a lot of what the old gent said made no sense at all. But, you know, it was still like being told a story, and you've all just interacted as if it was exactly the truth and everything. And the young lady ran off and made a cup of tea and came back, and, you know, in typical British fashion, brought the sugar bowl with her as well. I don't know if we would like drink it with sugar or not. So, you know, and then eventually when the ambulance arrives, it was these 2 lovely young ladies, but they actually couldn't get him onto the trolley either. So between the 5 of us and him, we were able to get him, you know, into the ambulance and everything. But, you know, but it kind of struck me was that I would not necessarily have looked out of the window at the end of that call. And if they hadn't walked past at that moment, he could have been there for a lot longer. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just, you know, a bit like Susan said, sometimes people just are in the right time, you know, right place at the right time for no apparent reason other than somebody needs that random act of kindness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad they're okay too.
Yeah.
Neil, if I could touch on it, I'd also like the panels to hear on this. One of the things that you said was about despite what the news says, the newspapers say, one of the things that I do recommend to my clients and friends and family is not to listen to all the news for so long. I'm not saying do one of these, but you don't need to have it on all day. And we're having really big awakenings of what actually constitutes as the news and where are you getting your information from. Mm-hmm. Some people use the term fear porn. They are scaring each other, which takes that energy and puts it like this, that makes us want to separate as well and makes us feel alone. And if you're alone, divide and conquer, right? So for me, what I do is there's a saying that Gandhi had said of be careful, don't let people with dirty feet walk through your mind. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's important. I check the news in the first thing in the morning, and then that's it. That's it. And then that's all I need to do. And then I fill my mind with stuff like this, like your reports here. Really nice music with the 528 hertz. And if you're not familiar with sound frequency, just go to YouTube, type in 523 hertz music. And it is a type of frequency that does this to the heart and helps heal the heart instead of squish it and make it feel kind of icky. So I was just wondering from you guys, where do you get your information from, and how do you handle the cycle of information of making sure that this doesn't get full of fear, but also not ignorant as well? So I personally could use advice on that as well, not just for clients, but myself, you know, because when you are isolated, you only know what you know. So where do you get your information from, and how do you guys handle that, if that's all right to ask, Neil?
Absolutely. For me personally, it's easy. I will watch and listen to it all, but it's me choosing how I respond and react to it. And I recognize that their job is to sell news and sell press, so they're going to use any tool that they can get, and their current tool set is fear. So I just go, okay, what's the truth? What can I glean under this? If I take the emotion and the glitz out of it, what are the fact points? What are the bullet points? And then I walk away.
Bullet points. I like that. Actually, that really helped me. Thank you, Neil.
That was, I mean, I would have said pretty much the same thing. I had for the first few weeks, I was watching the daily bulletin. Mm-hmm. and then realized that I left that daily bulletin every day angry, frustrated, and annoyed at our politicians. Why? Because none of them should have been allowed on a podium without having been taught how to speak properly. Sorry. But it was the same as what Neil was saying. When they are talking in the moment, it is their take on everything. And yet, if I just waited another 20 minutes, 30 minutes until somebody put what Boris Johnson had just said into points that had then all been fact-checked, then I got the information that I needed without having to have this stressful reaction to a politician that I don't particularly care for. Mm-hmm. Still got the information that said I can't go out, or I can only go out for these reasons. But what I considered to be a better standard of information without the emotion that I was attaching to seeing it live.
Mm. Thank you.
And it also meant I could take it at whatever time of the day was better for me, knowing that he would speak around 5 o'clock. I didn't even have to think about it until 8, 9, if that didn't fit with my day. So,
absolutely.
I think for me, what's important, I've always been really drawn to look at the voices that don't get heard. And so I'm really drawn to very independent news broadcasts to get the other side of the story, because I find that mostly with the mainstream, you get, as you say, an agenda and one side, and very often out of context. So I like to balance that by looking at the other side and seeing, so what else are people saying about this? What's another perspective around this? And then I've been, especially lately, really cultivating my body as like a tuning fork for truth, and really just seeing, what lands with me, what feels like it's not quite right, what feels like, no, they're trying to, get me to do something, but it's not good for me necessarily. It's somebody else's agenda. So really becoming consciously aware of, because there's a lot of people who would like to have our energy, right? And so it's really, really important for me to be careful and to be mindful of what it is that I am looking at, what I'm giving my energy to, and to make sure that it resonates with me.
Thank you.
I love the sounds of that. Human beings, we are amazing deletion mechanisms, meaning that we delete so many things going on around us. I've taken that principle and I've applied it into everything that doesn't offer an opportunity that's congruent with my purpose for being. Look, I could get stuck on this thing all day. I could be going here, looking for this, looking for that. I could be seeing, the end of the world, if that's really what I was focusing in on and what I was looking for. What I've done is I've taken that deletion mechanism and I've enabled it to actually delete all that doesn't serve, all that's not congruent with that purpose. I did that by asking a really great question. My question to myself, what's the opportunity here right now? Now, if there's no opportunity, I could get stuck in the good old Donald Trump stuff and all that of who's going to be next president. It doesn't really affect me in any way, shape, or form. But I could get stuck in all that stuff. Instead, I choose to activate that deletion mechanism up in my brain because really, it's not important. To me, that's absolutely no value. It doesn't align in any way, shape, or form with my purpose. It doesn't offer me an opportunity here right now. So if I can't see the opportunity in it, and I've trained myself to look for opportunities, right? My big question that I ask all the time, what's the opportunity here right now? If I can't find that opportunity, it's quite literally on to the next thing. And I get the question, well, Jamie, don't you want to know what's going on? I know just enough about what's going on to keep myself safe. But more importantly, I know where all the opportunities are because I've trained myself to do that. It didn't happen right away. It took some time to get to this place, but now that it's there, I'm so thankful for that. I can't even begin to say enough about that.
Excellent. Thank you. I won't say anything about TikTok there, Jamie.
Nope. I'm learning it though. See, one of my mentors, what did he say? Go on, spend a few hours, learn it, figure it out. Although we might not have to use TikTok, it's getting banned everywhere anyway. So we'll see what happens with that.
Absolutely. So Jamie and Sarah were getting into it off camera. They were already like And it was good. So Jamie, I'm going to ask you to pick up the pieces where you and Sarah left off.
Oh, totally. And it's actually not one of those. It's more of a, because I am so freaking in alignment with what Sarah does. Look, burnout, my God, it is such a real thing. But here's the thing, and I'll ask the question directly to you, Sarah. How does a person know, or how does a person even start to realize, before they consciously know, how do they know they're stepping into those phases of burnout?
So I think the important thing to note is you don't burn out overnight. This takes months, years to get to that point. And actually, the point at which you go from, I need to clear my to-do list, or, but you still care about clearing your to-do list because you want to do a good job or you want to go on to the next project, you are still in chronic stress. But the point at which you stop caring about that to-do list or anything on it, and life becomes not worth thinking about, you have gone into burnout. So if you're still saying to yourself, right, I'd work 2 hours on Saturday, I will be ahead by Monday, even though you know that something else will land on Sunday, so you won't really, but you're still thinking positively about that to-do list, it's chronic stress, but once you move away into, why do I bother? You've gone into burnout. That's the easiest way to kind of put it into.
So on that point, speaking of stress, like I'd like to ask the entire panel here, have you ever come across a situation where you've really begun to notice it? You've started to feel that. You've started to feel that lackluster feeling. It's like, oh God, I gotta get up again. Has anyone felt that? And what have you done about it? Neil's got his hand up. Yeah, Angel, absolutely. Share. I'd love to hear those stories.
Absolutely. Working a 9 to 5, working a 5:01 till midnight, working on Sunday mornings, trying to be a good husband, trying to be the president of our camping association. Absolutely. And what I do is I take my butt out and I go for a run. For me, a run, a physical activity gets everything realigned and readjusted, because eventually, for me personally, whatever distance I'm going to run, the middle part is always meditative. The beginning part is, oh, why the hell am I doing this? And the end part is, please God, let it be done. But in between, it's always, this is just the Zen place. It is just beautiful. And so for me, I just go take myself out for a run.
Well, I had been a psychic medium and starting my own business from scratch. As you know, Jamie, when you're starting your own business, it's you, yourself, and I. I was working 60-hour weeks for doing what I loved. And, they say I loved it, but I was just draining myself. And I have 3 children. They're all older now, but when I started in 2010, they weren't. They were teenagers. And for me, because when people came to me, they were at their lowest, or they were suicidal, or they had just lost somebody they loved. And when people stop you in the streets and say, you saved me, you changed my life, and I'm like, no, you did that. And you get all these people who are walking into your place and crying for no reason, because they just feel the energy of everybody feeling loved in there. You felt like it was your duty. You couldn't step back. I did not have healthy boundaries because I felt it was my responsibility. If I knew I could help somebody and they came to me saying they needed my help, I had no idea how to say, no, I can't right now. And everybody's wired differently. Some people are wired more for seeing, thinking, feeling, hearing. I'm one of those people who is claircognizant, which means things just come to my head. So overthinker, basically. So I could, even when I was not at work, I was at work. And so having a lot of people who want to do this, they want to do it professionally. And they need to know, say Jamie, somebody like you, and Sarah, and you too, Susan, about giving the full balance of learning how to not just give, but also receive without feeling guilty about it. I could not stop unless I got sick. And then I felt like, okay, that's a good enough reason to stop and say, no, I'm sick, which means my immune system sucked, because after having cancer too, I was just done. And so when a reading would came, literally, like you said, Sarah, I was, and that's when I knew, okay, I'm done. So when the lease came up to do another 5 years, it wasn't just work, it was the work and feeling a sense of responsibility of losing myself and giving so much away. I didn't have that balance. And I burnt out probably 2 years, and my friends were telling me before I actually quit. And, you know, I wish I met people like you guys before, so you could, instead of quitting and pulling the plug, how to really pull back and have those healthy boundaries, and learn how to ease off and have a break instead of breaking. And that's something that I'm doing now by just doing an online business instead of the brick and mortar as well. I was doing 4 jobs at one time, and feeling that deep sense of, if I don't, it's my fault, because I could have helped them and I didn't. So that's where that burnout does. And it is when you are, say, what people use the term light worker, you feel that's my job. Mm-hmm. And I failed by saying no, because being in service to others, well, I forgot to include myself in that. So any advice that you guys have that would help people to, what do you do when you realize that? Like, obviously I'm not a runner.
Me neither.
I know people use, and I find that women are really, they will use sugar. They will be an emotional eater. Mm-hmm. Because sugar, that was my addiction. I don't smoke, I'm not a drinker, don't touch drugs, but sugar, because sugar in the brain for women releases the same feeling as love. So there was no risk. I could sit down when I got home, have something sweet, and my brain would trick my heart into feeling that you were loved, because it tricked me into releasing that hormone. And then the weight gain starts, and then you're beating yourself about that too. So how do you find that balance of, and Susan, you do this as well, and you know, you're a coach. How do you guys have a healthy boundary? What helps for you to be happy so your cup is full too?
Well, I think you touched on it exactly, Angel, in terms of one of the most important things is boundaries, right? And the simplest, easiest definition from Brene Brown, who is the queen of boundaries, is what's okay with me and what's not okay with me, right? And by having those clear boundaries, that's where we're able to then fully participate in the world. And also, I don't know, I love those people in my life, and I'm trying to be one, where I know exactly where I stand with them. Like there's no, like I don't ever worry that they're going to say yes when they mean no, and they're wishy-washy. And you know what I mean? Like, aren't those people refreshing? And yet, you know, sometimes it's hard to be that person. And then the second thing I would say is just so much self-compassion. Self-compassion is a skill. Kristin Neff is like the queen of self-compassion. If you've seen any of her work, she is just fabulous on the power of self-compassion, how to cultivate that for ourselves, which is hugely important.
What's her name again?
Kristin Neff.
I'm writing that down.
TINNEFF.
Mm-hmm. And
all her work is, of course, backed up by research.
Research.
I know. For those, that's important. If the research is there. It's
balance, head and heart and soul.
Exactly. So that's another really important component. And then I think just really getting to know ourselves well, and to realize when we are really called to be in service versus when we're trying to rescue. If I ask myself, time. Is this a rescue or is this a call to service? Because it's a very important distinction. Because if it's a rescue, then probably it's not good for me and it's not good for the other person or whatever it is that I'm trying to rescue, right? If it's a call to service,
Moment for
my gifts are then being channeled into a more productive activity. So for me, that's a really important awareness to have about myself, is what is driving this thing that I want to do.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, Susan, I'd hug you right now, straight up. I love that idea of boundaries, and it's applicable. Yeah, exactly, right? I'm there. I'm in. It is applicable to time. It is applicable to your bandwidth. It's applicable to everything. We must set those boundaries. When I work with people, I don't as much do the coaching anymore. But what I really work with people too, especially in the businesses, is to say, set those boundaries with respect to how much you're going to work. Now, I'm a bad offender for that. Right? As you know, Sarah, if you're working all the time, you're inviting burnout into your life. That's really, truly what I believe. But setting those boundaries, setting those time boundaries, I think that's really another important fact too. If you say, okay, I'm willing to commit to 50 hours a week for the business, you make that available bucket of 50 hours, you put your pieces in, and anything that doesn't fit, you make the decision, well, is it really that important? And what must I take out in order to fit it in? The other big point here, scale equals freedom. Right? Does it really have to be you? Must it be you? Or must it be someone else? That's a critical question. All of us, right? We've all been in that place where we all started out. We started from ground zero. And yeah, at that time, it had to be us. Now, trust me, there's things that I did. My first website, Neil, you remember this, Neil. Right? It was terrible. It was absolutely awful. I built it because I thought that's what I had to do. I thought it was right. And Neil's like, yeah, Jamie, what is this? Like, and he did it in a really nice way. But what he was telling me is like, dude, you got to take this down right away because it's. But he did it in a really nice way. He was like really nice about it. And it's true. It did suck. But here's me as a coach trying to build a website. Now, if that's not the definition of insanity, I don't know what is, because that's not my skill set. That's not what my passion is. But because I thought that I had to do it, right? That's the product I turned out. Instead, recognize what it is that you must not do. Trust me, I will never, ever, ever build a website ever again. I might make a landing page or two, but I will never, ever, ever build a website again. That's not me. That's not who I am. That must be someone else doing it. So, Susan, I love that. I love those boundaries. It's about setting boundaries around what you're truly passionate about, what you're here for, why you exist. Now, if I can, I know we're coming close. I see the time. I know we're coming close, but I've got one more question because, and this question is going to Sarah again. We all hear the terminology about hustle. Everything's the hustle, right? It's the hustle. It's the grind. It's this, it's that. How do we balance hustle between a healthy life-work balance? What does that look like? Do you have tips for us?
So the very first thing that I do with any client is actually get them to take a piece of paper and 3 color pens, highlighters, and actually put the 24 hours of the day down one side, days of the week across the top. And, to this for the last week, how much have you slept, worked, and had life? Because you don't need it detailed by 5-minute blocks, but you can get such a visual of the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs are working 80-hour weeks to avoid working the 40-hour week for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then it comes down to the boundaries that say, what is my zone of genius? Nothing to do with marketing is my zone of genius. But if I'm starting out, I don't know, or I may not be able to afford to get somebody else to do that. But what I don't often figure into that, or what people don't calculate into that, is how long will it take me to do? And if my rate is, if I'm charging people $300 an hour, to have a one-to-one with me, and it takes me a week to do the website, but I could have got someone on Fiverr to do it for $100 and not had to think about it, then the lost money is the whole week's income for me. From a wealth point of view, the mental impact of me feeling like a failure for the whole week because I can't do it, and I've broken it, and I've had to phone GoDaddy every week or hour, every minute. I mean, you know, that's not wheelhouse. So why would I want to be sat in it? And the biggest thing, you know, with all of these tips, they all come back to one thing. If you are not smiling and your body is not happy, then your body is probably in stress. Our bodies are not built to do cortisol and adrenaline and dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, or endorphins at the same time. It's like having one set of ingredients for one cake.
Yeah.
And you can make a happy cake or you can make a stress cake.
Doesn't
But you
rise.
make a 50-50 cake. So if you are putting, you know, if you are stressed most of the time, you cannot make, you know, your body is not healing. It's not resting properly because it is continually going, am I safe? And that's the stress response. But by breaking it with laughing, smiling, deep breathing, you know, all things, you know, and yes, we don't want to spend all our time on these phones, but you can carry a burnout first aid kit with you, which is videos that make you laugh until your sides hurt, music that raises your tempo, makes you dance, makes you wiggle in your seat. I can see you, Neil. Podcasts that you would listen to as you run. You know, for me, if I went on a run, Neil, 99% of that run is it nearly over yet? You know, even as I'm tying my shoes on, you know, but finding the things that do that for us, not saying, well, absolutely go for a run, because probably 50% of people go, oh, I can't imagine anything worse. It might be going and baking a cake or reading a book, you know, and sometimes we have to go back to what we used to do as kids. What did you run home from school, drop your bag at the door, get your homework done as quickly as you could, do your chores so that you could do what? And for the majority of people, that what is still what will make them happy today.
Neil, may I share with you something that Eason had showed me about finding that balance?
Sure.
Okay, so we have three aspects to ourselves. When we live in a Western society where we almost treat science as another form of religion, we won't believe anything or have faith in it unless science says we can. When that happens, we have no faith anymore, because you can't have proof and faith at the same time, just like you can't have the dopamine and the cortisol at the same time. So we need to find the balance, and there are three different parts to us. There's the mind, which you are not, but our society worships this. There's your heart, and then there's the soul. Each time you incarnate, you get a different heart and a different mind, but you have the same soul. Each part needs different things. So your head, and I do a whole one-on-one trilotherapy session with you that gives, instead of 110 different things, 3 things the head needs, 3 things the heart needs, and 3 things the soul needs. So we have these like 9 buckets. And you've really got to check. If you have everything you do feeds the head bucket, then the other 2 are suffering. Now, one of the things that the head is in charge of is health. So if your soul and your heart buckets are empty, the only thing, head doesn't care, because it's not his department. I don't care. I don't sell flowers. I sell cars. Don't come to me with your flower request. I don't care. So what will happen is this imbalance comes, that it starts to affect your health. So head does care. So it does affect him. So if you go down and you say, is this, do I need head time? I tell you, most North Americans do not need more head time. What does my heart need? It's that creativity, needs to give and receive love. What does your heart love? Kind of like what Sarah had said. What is it? Reconnect with that. And the soul, what does the soul need? Now, many people, even when they're spiritual, they can, what does head need? Head likes the job, it likes the money, it likes all this stuff to know you're safe. Heart, they can say that, but what does your soul really need? And many people are stumped by that. And that really comes from getting to know yourself, getting to know your soul, that ancient self that actually doesn't need, quote unquote, anything, but in order to fill its bucket, to find balance, it does need stuff in it. And so if each of you imagine 3 heads, 3 buckets for each, the head, heart, and soul, and what goes in them. And if you find out you've got 10, 20 head buckets and you've only got 2 in the other departments, it's time to start taking away and finding balance. And head can understand that because head is math. It understands math, and it'll go, it doesn't understand, oh, she's sad, look at her crying again, boo-hoo. But it does understand, wait a minute, it's supposed to be 3, 3, 3, and I've got 9. That's not good, is it? So finding a way that incorporates that Tao balance of it all. And there's going to be times where when you're at a certain place, more buckets for the head. Well, then that means when you get home, you have to find balance in the heart. You have to find balance in the soul in order to play fair. And that's that self-compassion that comes through. And people who have an issue with it, one of the things that I really say is working with Kuan Yin, bringing that Kuan Yin energy, the female Buddha who is meant for those who see the tears. She's one that sees your tears and gives you compassion so you can help have that compassion for yourself as well. And that's so important for those that are very heart-based people. Just because you have one bigger wheel on your car doesn't make it a smooth ride. So if you really find those buckets and fill them, then you're going to find a tangible way to find that happiness and find that balance in your life by filling your buckets. Don't kick the bucket, fill the buckets.
Thank you. I'm cognizant of the time because Jamie's got a coaching program that he leads, and he's got to go and run off soon. So it's great to have this issue as where we're running out of time in great conversation. It's beautiful to have these problems as where we're having heartfelt conversations and we just don't have enough time. So we're at the point in time where I'm going to ask, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Susan? How do you want people, our viewers, our listeners, because this is going to a podcast, it's on iHeartRadio, iTunes, on Google Play. It's also will be on YouTube. It is on YouTube and Facebook. So long term, how would you like people to get a hold of you?
I guess the easiest way is probably through my website, which is awakeningpossibility.com. And if you want to send me an email directly, you can send it to awakeningpossibility@me.com.
I should have done this, but I sent everyone the wrong link.
So it's no IES, awakeningpossibility.com.
Oh man.
POSSIBILITY.
Okay, we got it. Anyways, sorry. Sarah, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So for anybody who's kind of resonated with some of the conversations we've had today, I have a quiz on my website called Are You Burning Out? And it's 15 yes/no questions so that people can see which areas of their life they might need to look at. And that's at yourreasontobreathe.com/quiz. And all the connections they can get through the website.
Excellent. Angel.
So I find a lot of people find the easiest way to get a hold of me is by adding me to Facebook at Angel Rogers. I also have an Etsy store called Angel's Crystal Alchemy, where we sell a lot of the high frequency stones in custom made one-of-a-kind pieces as well that I make with these little hands here. And you can reach me at angelscrystalalchemy.com.
Sweet. And we'll get to Jamie and we'll do it at the end. If you were to leave, we've had some wonderful conversations today. What would you like to leave our listeners and our viewers with? Any last thoughts that you would love to share? And so I'll model the way, and then I'm going to ask Jamie to clean up at the very end. So I would like to leave that you, the viewers, the listeners, are worthy of any dreams and aspirations that you have. There is love and you are loved. You are a heart-based creature and you are worthy of all your dreams. So go out and find them, fulfill them, live them, breathe them, be them. And with that, next person. Anyone?
Okay, well, I'm next to you, so I'll go. I would say I love that. Building on that, you are a magnificent being of light and love, and awaken possibility for yourself, because we all have so much that's possible. And discover the truth of who you are and bring that into the world, because that's what the world needs most, is the authentic, true you.
Thank you.
So for me, I would just remind anybody who is building a business or, working a job, managing a family, that you are also one of the important elements of whatever equation, whatever business it is that you are building. And if you are not building that part into your plans, then you will not be fulfilled even when you hit 7, 8 figure businesses, because you haven't actually addressed what it is that you want. I call it your reason to breathe. Some people call it their why, their purpose. Once you have one, life takes on, the path all by itself. And so if you haven't found your reason to breathe yet, spend some time and find it. But the most important thing is just don't forget to breathe.
Oh, yes.
So my final word would be to not believe everything your head tells you. To be able to understand you're not your mind, you're your soul, and to start leading from the soul, especially those negative thoughts that come in, really check and notice them. Don't ignore them. Be able to say, did my head say that? Did my heart say that? Or did my soul say that? Because sometimes the heart is scared because she's been beaten up by the head. So you don't just always want to listen to her. The soul is the one who should be making decisions. And in order to do that, you need to awaken the soul. So if I can, my Zen master, Nisa Maman, has an app, a free app that you can download that has 10 free meditations to bring that awareness to you and help you get that. So that's Amon, A-M-O-N, and they're free meditations for everybody to awaken the soul so you can hear its answers, because the soul doesn't yell like the ego, it whispers.
Awesome.
Thank
you.
you.
For that. My last words, definitely with the right passion, you'll get your purpose. When you have your purpose, you'll create that amazing plan. And at that point, at that time, all of your dreams become your new reality. Go execute.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy weeks, week that you, and to be here. And for some of us, this was early. And for one of us, it was even earlier. And I'm impressed that we're not in pajamas and Sarah's not in her evening wear. This is great.
It's a little early for evening wear, Neil.
Oh, okay. I don't know I'm so used to us having you on the calls at like midnight or 10 o'clock.
It's 4:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So end of the working week.
Yeah, with that, and thank you. And I'm going to end.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste to all.